with that, I think we can kick things off. Welcome everyone to the 2023 Weeklies. We are here. These weeklies have been a little bit more hotly anticipated than other weeklies for some reason.
Yeah, we've been hyping up on it. Oh, you did a different layout. This one is cool.
I just threw a different layout in the last minute. So this puzzle is.
That's awesome as it looks.
Thank you. This puzzle is Die Hard. This was submitted to us by Genius42 way back, like halfway through last year's weekly.
Oh yeah, I think it was during last year's week. Yeah, literally, I made the puzzle and I didn't have any anticipation of what metrics we were going to use. So don't blame me for the metrics. I just made it and made sure it worked. That's it.
Blame Panic. He devised the metrics.
Yeah, that was mostly Panic's idea.
I mean, like. The others of us agreed to it, except for Zorflax, but...
Zorflax was a dissenter?
I was the lone dissenting voice. So, if you have complaints about this puzzle, I'm not to blame. Cool.
It's Haxton and someone else, isn't it?
No, it's everyone else. Everyone else loves
no, it's Panic.
Panic
suggested the metrics. I looked at the metrics and I was like, yeah, that's funny, let's do that. And also, like, yeah, that's funny. Let's kick off the weeklies with an overlap area puzzle. Very approachable, you see.
I'll admit I was at least partially wrong about overlap area, that is.
Yeah, but I like... Oh, you go first.
Oh, it just turned out interesting in a way that I'm like, that's not going to be interesting in a traditional sense. And it wasn't. But it was interesting for a completely different reason. And that I was not anticipating.
Okay, now I forgot what I was going to say.
Also, thank Mr. Puzzle so much for making something that allows this to be viewed.
Oh yeah, the mods are amazing. Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say now. I wanted this to be the first puzzle because it, like, gives a good idea of what the weeklies are going to be like, which is extremely experimental.
Yeah.
Certainly turned out unique, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is true that week one is always very experimental. Hornsilver introduced the concept of TI, and then Sweeper Rod had Mana, which is extremely experimental. So in that vein, I think we've done like, sufficiently.
What we've got coming up for you is exciting.
Yeah, sufficiently.
We've got so much new stuff for you.
All right, so. Without further ado, we will kick things off with overlap area. And to start us off is Steven.
As always, Stephen. It actually has overlay in it. Oh yeah, we have pronouns on the overlay now.
So for those of you wondering, this is as far out as I can zoom. I can't get the whole solve on screen.
I suggest watching this at 1 tick slower.
Oh, it's period 4. Good.
1 pixel resolution. Yeah, that's.
Oh my god, my cat is screaming. Let me go get her.
Okay. I'm just following the first one here. It just.
So every one of those duplicators has an overlapped calcifier, is that what I'm seeing?
Yes. Are y'all familiar with sliding block puzzles?
They absolutely 15'd this.
This is the Minecraft solve. The Minecraft was a sketch. This is the solve.
And it has a buddy dupe for the last part so that it can be 15.
I was considering starting this Opus Magnum stream in like the Minecraft menu as a gag.
Steven absolutely wanted you to.
Yeah, that would have been such a good fucking joke though.
But yes, this is a sliding block puzzle where we're moving one atom to the next by one space every single time.
Literally just a sliding block puzzle.
Where does it overlap? That's what I want to know.
All of the duplicators are overlapped with a single calcifier underneath because that's how you move.
Yeah, so pay attention
There's
to
also-
every
No,
time,
they're
like,
on top actually. They're actually on top because the duplication has to go off first.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except the calcifier just looks exactly like the duplicator
Yeah,
side.
you just can't tell.
Don't forget the two times 10 calcifiers next to the confetti.
Of course, there's the 10 times 10
Nice.
calcifiers.
Nice. I approve of this.
My only complaint is this seems to be a little bit too efficient.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought,
Funnily enough, this is not
really
the
good.
this is not the solve that ranked the worst.
Oh.
There's one more like
Yeah, this is not
How?
our most expensive solve today, so...
this is not the solve with the most area because there's another solve with more area.
Oh.
Mr. Puzzle's requesting the map view. I don't know if that's possible.
Oh, I don't. Is this the newest Pizzica?
Newest Pizzigo. I think it's the newest, the map view of this.
There was a new-
Was there a hotkey for that?
M key.
M.
No, it is not the newest.
Hey!
Is it? Oh,
Yo.
it is. Nice.
Nice.
Look!
It hasn't showed up
Holy
on stream
shit.
yet. Oh hell yeah! What's the box in the? Oh, that's the current view, but we're in Zoom, so it's showing the.
Yeah,
I
let me just-
see.
Yeah. I can just... Yeah.
Us being in Zoom kind of messes with that though.
Yeah, if I just
Oh,
do
hell
that,
yeah, that's-
there's a map of the solve.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's really good. That's gonna be useful. For
Mr.
somebody that
Puzzle, I
knows-
love you so much. Thank you.
This is going to
This
be...
is really cool.
This is going to be really
This looks
awesome.
like looks very useful for large cycle solves.
How do I get out of it? Is it M?
M again, probably.
Sorry?
Probably just M again.
Nah, it's not M.
Shift N, escape. I don't know.
Alright, it's Alright, cool.
I'll make sure to re-implement Opus Magnum in Minecraft next time. God.
Why, yes, I did download Forget School last night. How could you tell?
But yes, I suppose for a suggestion for to probably also the M key to exit the map view, like as one of the options. Yeah.
Yeah, like as a toggle.
Uh-huh.
Alright, it's a bit difficult to tell who we should go next. But I think I'm going to
The
move...
double-digit ones. Start with the
Yeah,
double-digit ones.
I'll move all the way down into double digits. So we go from a nice 1,516 area to 29 area by Panic.
Yeah, this is our post solve. You can tell we did not try very hard. Well, I don't know. Panic, you can talk about the solve.
Yeah, so I guess I thought of something that seemed to work and that did it. I don't know. I kind of forget how it works now.
Also, is that?
Quite a while ago.
Oh, it's the old toggle.
I guess this is the part of the stream where someone has to talk about how overlap even works.
So the way overlap works is that you start from the bottom up. The bottommost glyph fires first, and then it spreads throughout the solution. It spreads. They trigger from bottom to top, and
Alright, let me just try and dig the output out. There we go. Alright.
Yeah, so
you know you can do the
pretty much
new
everything
view.
in the game goes from bottom to top, including selecting things. So
Have you loaded the mod that just expands the view?
Yeah, I don't know how it works though.
You press O. Yeah, you just reset everything and press O.
Oh. Where am I?
And then press and then press up. Press up.
Holy crap. Mr. Puzzle, you're a miracle worker.
oh, cool.
Alright, let's start that
Yeah, so
again.
maybe you can figure out
You can also use the right and left and right arrow keys to like just
That's So here's how it is actually placed.
Tap through them. So yeah, you can tell that it calcifies first and then spreads it throughout, like that, and then
Alright, so
just
yeah,
a web of spreading everything everywhere.
this is gonna be the next hour of the stream, is this kind of insane overlap. So not exactly the most not exactly
You don't always
the
have to
easiest
like
path.
play the whole thing through every time as well. You can just use right and left if you want.
Oh yeah, I was using right and left.
You're just doing it really fast. Okay.
Yeah, so some of this is coming back to me. I'm pretty sure the way it works is the reason it's on a track like that is because I wanted to have the leftmost side be the 4 cardinal elements, which is sort of a straightforward way. And then the rest of the network is just assuming that the leftmost side is the correct cardinal element, just spreading it out to where it needs to be inside the larger thing. So as the burrow goes up and down, it fills in the leftmost atom with the correct cardinal element, which then spreads out, and then all 4 are filled in. So I believe the first product is done slightly differently than the remaining 5, because the burrow starts at the bottom and it ends up at the top. So the first one, the bottom 2 are filled in first.
This is what the 1/6 everyone was talking about was.
Yeah, so there's sort of an issue that often comes up with overlap area solves for this puzzle, which is that Burlow, naturally you want to spin it around so you get all the different elements, but it will end up on the wrong side at the moment that the last element is dialed in. So it's like on the opposite side as where it started from. So somehow the solve either has to work correctly in that other starting position, or somehow not output it right away as those last 2 elements are dialed in, but wait for the thing to go back around so that it's back where it started.
Also,
Yeah, especially like one of the things I was worried about in 1 of 6 is that if you accidentally output on the wrong half cycle, like if you output on a pre-move half cycle, then you will never have it in steady state compared to how it started, because the first the input should be first touched on a pre-move half cycle, and if you output on a pre-move half cycle, the next input's first touched on a post-move half cycle. Like the whole problem with half cycles was to me a possible nightmare of getting stuck at 1 of 6.
Oh yeah, we should talk about half cycles and explain it to people who don't understand.
Yeah, so before the movement of 1 cycle, all of the glyphs will act in some way. And for at least the 2 in here, calcifiers and duplicators, they just act. There's not any nuance to it. Before movement, all of the glyphs act. Then movement happens, then all of the glyphs act again, and then the cycle is over. So each time that a cycle progresses, the glyphs have acted twice. Which means that if you have anything propagating, it will propagate twice. And if there's a second action that overrides the first, that's a problem.
When it comes to rotation from the Burlow, I think the first half cycle takes the original position, and the second half cycle takes the ending position.
Exactly, because it's once before and once after movement.
Yeah.
yeah, this puzzle mode's duplication just kind of hard forces you to act in that half cycle. Like, it really is, you could almost measure the cycles for this overlap area metric by just half cycles, because it just feels so
I did in all of my notes.
Exactly.
So
And to
you're
count back how many
basically-
half cycles since the grid saw this color, basically.
Biggie's calling this as a graph puzzle, a graph theory problem disguised as an Opus Magnum puzzle.
Alright, let's move on, see if we can make heads or tails of some of the other solves. Because it's
Yeah,
only
welcome
getting,
to a.
it's only getting more compact from here. We moved down to 28 area in 13th place. Bam.
Oh, we haven't. The drop hasn't happened yet.
No.
And we're 13th, okay. I'm just wondering, this is the first person to actually have a placement.
Oh yeah, our host solves are not that competitive. So this one has to have the extra 2 calcifiers to deal with the permanent atoms over there.
Which is, yeah, and it drags it up and that kind of eats 4 area.
Yeah. Why? I don't quite know why there has to be those two permanent atoms there though, and why that happens to be that way. Grammy says this is the 1/6 start, but using the extra arm to fix it up. That makes sense. So, like, only the first one would work, unless you change the other one. You have to do something different for the 5 remaining products. Are there any notes for this?
No notes. At least
Unfortunate.
not according to the AHK. What I will do is boot up Mr. Puzzle's fancy exploding view. So
Brother Mojo calls out well in chat that this seems to be solving the problem of only having access to 2 Burlow atoms at a time by making permanent versions of the other 2 Burlow atoms. So air and water come from that permanent station, and fire and earth come from Burlow. You make the whole product, and then you have to fix them because they aren't actually supposed to be fire and earth.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if you can save a single area if you push it down instead,
With a piston.
or...
No.
Oh yeah, you can use pistons.
Yeah, just instead of arm 2, you would put the arm below. Oh, but it's still using 5 area outside of the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're pulling it onto a track that the atom sits on, so it's not actually
Yeah,
hidden
yeah,
there.
Yeah, this armor track only technically, if you can think about like this, uses one hex, because this hex is going to be used by moved over by the product anyway.
Yeah. And maybe even, like, there's probably also, like, techniques you can do where it's shared Burlow space, but...
You can see the first one outputs beautifully, but then after that, it needs to fix up.
Yeah. And this, like, almost immediately propagates the entire patterning. Well, at least the entire checkerboard patterning.
Yeah, it does. That will be something that will be different for some of the better solves. I do know that much.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad that you say that's true of the better solves. It's like, this is different from my solve, that's all I know.
Yeah, Groomy points out that the first things that are placed are all the calcifiers. So you can see
Yeah,
all
that
the
makes
calcifiers
sense.
come first.
I mean,
A lot of
at
the other
600
later
gold, I'm
solves
sure it
are-
has more calcifiers than just...
Yeah, there's more than just the 16 calcifiers, but yeah, there's just like
It's
a
great how many
layer.
calcifiers per tile are still necessary to get this to work, because they fire after the dupes or before the dupes.
I
Yeah,
think my
a lot of the
solution also
other later
is-
solves are placed calc dupe in sets.
Right, just because if you have a solution that does the same thing every half cycle, basically, you want to reset to the known state. So you have the atoms that you know are certain things, which are the Burlows, and then the 2 at the top, and everything else just resets every time, which makes it easier to deploy.
Yeah.
Alright, I think with that we can move on to our next solve. The drop
This
happens.
is the drop.
Yeah, this is
There's the drop. Here we
We-
go.
We go straight from 28 area to 24 area with Brother
Ooh.
Mojo in 12th place.
One off.
What does a 24 area solve do?
One extra arm. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
Oh wait, Burlow has to move on the track.
Bertolo has to move, it's the Critelli hex.
It
For the suppression.
suppresses it so that it doesn't have the 1 of 6 problem. Okay. I love that.
Oh, Guilty Bystander is asking if we can mute the music for Opus Magnum. I don't know how loud it is.
Sure.
Or maybe just tone it down, I suppose.
Alright, tell me how loud that is. As we go back.
Yes, everyone else is on min area.
You
This
should
is the last
probably
non-min area solve.
Oh yeah, it
turn
goes
down
straight down.
the capture
Interesting.
volume, because, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'll give the notes a read real quick. So this is input plus bellow plus 1. It's that Critelli hex. Going lower than this, I think, involves some long-term delay tactics that I can't wrap my head around and I'm not sure are possible. Some positions are set up to permanently become Earthfire when the Burlow is in that position, since we'll only ever have access to 2 elements from the wheel, and thus some elements will need to either already be in place or duplicated from similar atoms already on the board. Other atoms are repeatedly calcified, so they can be changed over and over. If the next input appears while the Burlow is out of position, the wrong elements will appear in those permanent spots, an irrecoverable issue. So I need to use the Burlow to suppress the input while the Burlow returns to its original facing. However, if the product is finished immediately after the Burlow rotates into place, another half cycle of glyphs will trigger and the input will respawn while the Burlow is still facing its final position. Thus, the dupe setup starts by duplicating from some atoms on the board that should eventually be changeable air and water atoms. That way, the first half cycle after the Burlow rotates into place, the product is slightly incorrect and it's only fixed after another half cycle elapses.
I wondered about that, because if you move Burlow onto the product, it has to be output on a pre-move half cycle, which is really awkward to set up because it's the second half cycle after nothing. Okay, so it's that half cycle delay. So Brother Mojo figured out half cycle delay, but not 5 half cycle delay.
Yep. Some of the later songs, you see them like purposefully output every 6 cycles so that when it's reset, it's the same thing. So like they do the math to make sure the propagation happens so that on the 6th cycle it outputs.
That's me.
Also, yeah, I'm
Which
also
is
hearing him
probably
quiet
a lot
again.
of the songs coming up.
Sorry?
Oh yeah, you'll be fine if you just talk closer to the mic.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna put my face closer to the mic. Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that the later solves output every 6 cycles to like deal with the issue.
Hmm.
Most of them. There are other methods.
Okay, so I guess the main question is how do you deal with this Van Berlo problem without needing to have it move in using 1 extra hex to reset itself before the next regent spawns?
Also, I should have my own like leader list open so I can look at it to know who's coming up or what's coming up.
Okay, so as foreshadowed, we do move into min primary territory. So from here on out, I'll read the cost. So it's 23. 23 is min. I'll just read the cost score, and if there is a cost tie, then I will just move to cycle. So at 1130G is Fiesta Land. Welcome back to Fiesta Land.
It starts at 11:30. I was worried it would start at like 1,500 or 2,000, but this is not that expensive in my understanding of it.
I think some of the earlier solves did, but I think a lot of people improved since, didn't they, after their first submissions.
This one's propagating it in waves until it like correctly outputs, it seems.
It's also interesting that this has a gap cycle, that it has to wait for one.
Yeah, to delay it so that it's every 6 cycles.
Alright, I'll go over the ordering of the glyphs real quick, and then I will read the notes, which are very helpful and very long and thorough. I'll read the most relevant notes, but you can have a look. It just kind of does the guts first.
It's a bit like how the artist Turner painted how those things go on, because he painted loads of things in the background and then just painted over the top of it.
Also, if all of you are curious, the highest cost we received for Minaria is 1380.
So everyone who was able to get 23 had an efficient enough method. Like, I could think of less efficient methods than the one I use, but not more efficient ones.
Okay, so according to the notes, this solve uses 2 main ideas. First, it utilizes the notion of colors, quote-unquote, in memory. If an atom is sitting on both a calcifier and duplicator such that it ends the half cycle colored, you can both use that color as an input and change the color in the same half cycle. Second, if you have a single hex with duplication, access to 2 Burlow colors, you can use that access point to create an arbitrary length chain of alternating colored atoms. So I think this is the idea with that like spine in the middle. We used the first idea with the water, air, and earth diagonals. They're set up to perpetually loop in memory colors among themselves in sequence. So we can load the proper 3 colors initially, and they will pass off to one another every cycle forever, no matter what else the Burlow wheel does. We use the second idea to complete the fire-earth diagonal. I won't expand, but apparently the trickiest part of this was getting the output timing right. I can believe that.
Because, like, if you're using this method, you have to output every 6 cycles.
At least every full tape loop, because this is a 7-cycle loop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fair. Well, like, you have to output every full Burlow rotation. Since you want Burlow to return to the same spot, so that you don't start with, when outputting, so you don't start with a different initializer.
So yeah, I think Fiesta Land refers to this as like an alternating color squiggle tactic. In case you wanted the SparkNotes version of this algorithm.
The TLDR.
The TLDR. Alright. Well done.
Interesting that it only feeds off 1 atom from the Burlow, though. Most of what I've seen feeds off of 2.
Yeah, there's only 1 fed in. He gives an algorithm overview as well. Start with the Earth atom, obviously. Rotate Burlow to Salt on cycle 1. This movement loads Earth into the color cycling apparatus on the first half cycle only. Rotate Burlow to Water. Loading is blocked by the cycling Earth. Rotate Burlow to Air. Water loads on the first half cycle and air on the second half cycle. Use the alternating color squiggle tactic with Earth and Fire to complete the diamond. Because fire, yeah, so you get the other 3 colors kind of alternating around, and you just get fire up the guts, up that spine.
Oh yeah, because fire is just up the center.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
People have been complaining a lot about that fire diagonal for this puzzle, for both metrics.
I deliberately, when I made it, I deliberately made it so that there's 2 fires in the middle rather than, 1 of each element, just to make it a little bit harder, not think about overlap at all, but just generally as the puzzle.
Yeah, like,
puzzle.
and if you were to like color the atoms in the other direction, it would be way easier because you have the diagonal which just connects all 4. Where you can do through.
Yeah, that part is just stripes.
Yeah.
Alright, I think with that, we're ready to move on. In 10th place, unfortunately, I think she's coming up. It's Biggie.
Yep, I didn't think it was going to be much better than this.
You did squeak into top 10.
Welcome to top 10. The competition is fierce.
My only goal here was to get 23 area, and so I had to. I have my notes to tell you how, but yeah, once I had 23 area, I was not trying to find a second way to get 23 area, and I think I'm in one of the more expensive ways as a general thing.
Oh yeah, welcome to the OI solves.
It's still a top 10.
Yeah, this is OICGA. Or OICA. It's not G, because someone else has G.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try to read through notes? I think I laid out the notes in a way that's better for trying to get my organized thoughts than trying to go on.
I'll leave it to you if that's cool.
You can also just post it in the weekly channel if it's like got a lot of diagrams.
This does not have diagrams. I mostly just... So I wrote the simplifying assumptions. The Burlow has to spin, so we're going to output every 6 with 1 instruction on Burlow because I think that's simplest. Then the solution is expecting to output after movement on cycle 6, 12, etc. And then I start talking about how you keep track of memory. So the oldest thing you would have to hold is whatever the Burlow had 5 half cycles ago. And so I have 5 different atoms in the output devoted to storing 1 half cycle ago, 2 half cycle ago, 3 half cycle ago, 4 half cycle ago, and 5 half cycle ago. And just kind of propagate through to each other as the half cycles tick, and then everything else is just, you pick up from wherever there's an instance of that color in the solve. My initial solve was 1120. I did a small amount of graph theory pruning to get it to 1070, but I think I'm on the wrong track in general for how to get this really cheap. The 4 water atoms of the output are where 4 of the half cycle delays are, so it's kind of talking in that rectangle shape.
Actually, it just occurred to me I haven't been tabbing through these. That would be helpful.
Those are some interesting permanent atom placements. It doesn't look symmetrical or regular.
Yeah, I think the only ones that I could make permanent were fire and earth, because those are the 2 that are on the Burlow when the input spawns. So I just picked a fire and an earth that were out of the way.
I see. And then the first fire, that's immediately sent in.
Yeah, because really the Burlow's only talking to the second one, similar to Fiesta Lands, but it has the option to fire the first one for convenience.
Yeah. So you have to feed off from other ones.
It turns out to be cheaper that way, yeah.
So I know, I guess, and you guys can correct me if I'm missing the mark on this, but it seems like trying to get the cost down once you're at this min area revolves around trying to find the simplest possible algorithm for coloring in the die-hard product correctly.
Yeah, and it's not an easy product to color in.
No, and it's not. And trying to simplify that down is very, very big brain.
I think
There are clever algorithms that I absolutely love later on, though.
Yeah, I can't really speak to what we haven't seen yet, but I think to me the problem was finding a way to store information only as time passes. Because if you just color everything based on what Burlow has, that's going to be the color every cycle, and you can't ever use anything as a permanent water if your Burlow starts only giving fire and earth. So you have to have delayed water, and in my experience that means you have to have water from the Burlow 3 cycles ago, so 5 half cycles ago, still in the grid somewhere when the Burlow gets back to where it started. I'm interested to see if I was thinking about it wrong.
Alright, I think that might be a good segue to move on to our next solve. So beating this by 10G in 9th place is Team Still Not a Jasper.
10G difference.
Oh, that's Jasper too. Who else is that apart from Jasper? Is it Jasper? Jasper and someone else.
There's still not a break.
Yeah.
Kazian.
Yeah, it's Kazian, I believe not great, and Hello
There's
Jasper.
not great in it.
I'm just going to assume not great's in there because of the team name. I was never actually 100% on that.
Just Jasper and
not
Kazian.
great's not. Yeah, because
Oh,
it's
okay.
a reference to still not a brick.
Oh, okay. Well, not great's part of the team in spirit. I think we can say that. Okay.
This one's weird. I don't see any permanent atoms. Just propagates through and just works.
Alright, so these are Kazian notes, so you better believe I'm reading these all the way through. My
Oh,
correspondence.
it's pretty long, isn't it? It's pretty long. I read it.
It's kind of, that's alright. All of
It's
these are
not
long.
that. Well, it's not that long compared to the other ones, but it's written like a story.
My correspondent, Jasper, devised a causeway through crystalline salt, establishing 9 quote-unquote pit stops. Each turn of the wheel advances a snake of cardinals through 2 pit stops per cycle, starting from the upper duplicator visible under the wheel. I admit that I do not fully understand how the stops put the duplication pathway on hold, but I understand that each stop spreads its cardinal essence to the matching atoms elsewhere in the blueprint. In each cycle where this distribution creates an incorrect landscape of color, everything outside of a pit stop is calcified and the wheel turns again. At the end of the 9 paths, everything is in place and the landscape of color is finally painted with the correct brushes, dispensing a sprinkle before it can be calcified. Now, I'm only halfway through the notes, but I'm going to pause here to actually have a look at the glyph ordering, because I think that'll help bring some of these notes to light. Okay, so I think that those first ones, I think those are the pit stops. Well, there are only 8 of them, but...
What's this, the output midway?
Okay. And now for the duplication / calcification snake. And then finally I'll just call it the fire spine, since I think that's going to be like a common problem for a lot of these duplication algorithms. Alright. So continuing on. Oops. Continuing on. This is a simplification, of course. The second stop has simpler, cheaper handling, based on it being the same cardinal as the third atom. There is also an atom not reached by the causeway, but it can be handled directly from the lower duplicator visible on the wheel. This breaks nothing because of the constant calcification resets. So kind of taking advantage of half cycles there to not fuck up the kind of race snake way pathway. Additionally, the time to complete the highway is compatible with the spacings of salt on the wheel. There is the first rotation after an accepted sprinkle is a turn towards salt, so the highway does not restart until another turn towards Earth. I dabble rarely in transmutation engines that can withstand this temporary hyper-etching, and will be supplying my correspondent with replacement tiles for the 16 that have been scoured into wet smoke. Alchemist Kazian, reporting for correspondent Alchemist Jasper.
I wonder what the lower implications of overlap glyphs. Are the tiles being overworked?
I'm just imagining
Yep,
he's
those
just
are
he's
some
burnt
tests,
like a
that's alright.
16 hex hole through his like alchemy machine.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, don't think about the implications too hard.
The lore implications for overlap are uncomfortable.
Place as many calcifiers as you can on one tile and reach singularity.
I think that's what Steve is trying to do.
Alright.
There is Square Opus Magnum. It's called the Codex of Alchemical Engineering.
Okay. In 8th place, beating this by 50G at 1010 is Team
50G is already a decent drop. I think this is John and friends, basically.
Yeah, I think it's John and mates. Don't think I'm aware of their names, but Cy John Drass is the team.
Or just assume one of them is called Psy, one of them is called Drass.
Alright, I'll speed it up just a touch and have a look through the notes. This is alright, so John, I think, has written the notes here. This was the first time I worked with overlap, and it sure was interesting. The main challenge I faced was making sure that when the burlow turned to the side with air and water, there would still be some water and fire, I think it means earth and fire, in the molecule at known spots. Once I figured that out, it wasn't too hard to make the output. The only cost saving I did was trying to remove glyphs from the first layer and checking if the solve still worked, and I actually managed to save 60G that way.
That's a placement.
That's one way to do it, isn't it?
That's an approach I respect.
Just double checking your useless glyphs. Because it's very easy to just miss a few, like, you're like, Because you can't really see them unless you have the exploding view.
Actually, no, it's still too fast. I'm just gonna. So this is very much in the vein of make work, and then it worked.
That seems to be how a lot of these are. Just, yeah, it works. Let's scrape some gold. Yeah, that's good.
Alright, let's have a look and see if we can make heads or tails of it with the glyph ordering. So calcifiers first. Then we getting some duplicators.
Oh, I forgot that was a mod setting.
What's up?
Zorflax, there's a mod setting that you can change the speed tray to be like buttons instead of like the slider.
Oh, that's alright. I've already kind of gotten used to toggling it as a slider, so maybe
So,
next week.
There's that. I mean, like it's just a setting, so you can just go to the menu and then instead toggle it.
So yeah, I don't. I really should use Fujitsu a bit more.
So you can just press the. It's just so that you can just press buttons instead of pressing, like selecting your speed instead of like bumping it up or down.
I know.
Since, you know, there's
I
that.
just don't mind. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if anyone else can give me precise algorithmic details on this solve, but
It works.
it works.
This is what we predicted. What happens? What happens on the stream? It works.
This is the hard-hitting analysis you came here for. All right. I will.
This needs to have perma air though, since you know air goes in first.
Yeah.
That's
there are a couple
that's
of
the most
times.
analysis I can make of it. All these solves are quite similar.
All right. Moving on.
How it saved 50 gold from the previous solve, and no clue.
Well, it saved 60 gold from its first iteration through.
Oh,
Let's
I mean
take this
50
out
gold.
and see if it still works, and then it still worked.
Yeah, I mean like 50 gold compared to the previous solve, that is.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was almost the same amount.
No idea what the difference is, but it uses less glyphs.
Okay, moving on. We do dip under 1,000 gilda.
Sub 1000, let's go.
In 7th place, we have Spiritual Shampoo with a gilda score of 950.
There was one point where Spiritual Shampoo mentioned saving 5 gold, and I would like to understand what that was from.
You sure that was a shadow cluster?
Oh, I know Shadow Cluster was like just trolling about tracks underneath the Burlow and stuff, but
Oh wait, I
Spiritual
remember.
Shampoo I thought was saving 5
had
gold.
No, that was before Spiritual Shampoo got mid-area.
I see. So this was a legitimate Spiritual Shampoo, not an area moment. Okay. Imagine optimizing secondary, not an primary moment.
Okay, so let's have a gander at the notes here. Me solving OA. Solving it without juggling the input is impossible. Me solving OI. Solving it with only one Burlow rotation is necessary. Cost breakdown. Burlow, 30G. Calcifier bed, 80G. 8 hex capacitor, 320G. Duplication rivers, 520G.
Very, very compact notes. It just tossed an
8
analysis.
hex capacitor is interesting because I don't know which 8 hexes you use for that.
Is it these 8 hexes down here that the
That
first
seems
8
to be it if they're the first ones calcified. Oh no, the ones that are not calcified would be the capacitor, I think.
Oh.
Because you
okay,
can't
yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, okay.
you can't start out by calcifying the ones that are supposed to be holding memory.
So you're not looking for where the you're not looking for where the calcifiers are, but where they aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones
Good way
where
to
there's
put it.
first to do.
This is the first OA solve I've seen with the actual product glyph being under some of the duplicators and calcifiers.
It makes no difference in solution function, just aesthetics.
Okay, I was wondering if it was like an output timing thing or not.
Nah, the output is checked at a totally separate phase, so it doesn't care about file order.
Okay, there you go.
Also, we're at 34C, so this one seems to have 2 cycles of not yet at steady state before it reaches where it started.
Actually, you can kind of make a good sense of the ordering here. So after this first after the first few cycles, you can already see, I should just start it over from scratch. You can already see the Earth kind of taking its spot a bit, and then if I do another couple of cycles, you can see the water has taken the Earth's output spot, and the Earth has taken the air's output spot, and we're getting fire involved. So they just kind of cycle through the different output arrangements of the individual atoms, atom colors, I guess, and does that until all 4 are in the right one, basically. I don't know, this is the first one I've been able to make heads or tails of, like, properly, just by looking at it a bit. Or maybe that's just me talking out of my ass.
I feel like the ones later are easier to make sense of because they've cut down on the amount of glyphs to the bare minimum.
Yeah, Caliaris is weighing in with the exact same idea.
Yeah, ironically, they get a little less incomprehensible as we get higher up. Okay. In 6th place, beating this by 10G is Rebix.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme. This metric wasn't a lie. It certainly seems like it is. Always appealing to mathematics PhDs and kindergarteners who like colors alike.
I mean, when I
Yes.
took a discrete math course, that was just kindergarten math on steroids. Graph theory is kind of basically just discrete math.
Everything is just kindergarten math on steroids.
I did
Okay,
that
so-
D-level maths years ago, but I only just scraped through.
Alright, so with Berlo spinning, it takes a minimum of 8 half cycles for the Regent to see every element. This solution chooses to dupe air, fire, 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 earth, earth, water off of Berlo in those 8 half cycles. Then there are 2 steps to each half cycle. Step 1, the elements move along a queue of length 8. The queue is just a series of duping one element to the element after from tail to head, so it only progresses once a half cycle. Because we must store those 8 atoms of information, the atoms in the Regent responsible for this queue can't be overwritten at the end of the half cycle. For this solve, it means that once all that air, fire, 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 earth, earth, water enter the queue, they must be on the correct element. The choice of queue in this solve is, it's shown in, I'll just, like, copy-paste it into the Twitch chat.
I don't think Twitch chat has Twitch chat does not do multiple rows.
That's cool. Throwing our duped elements one by one into the queue yields my next comment, which satisfies the condition that all elements need to be in the right place for the final product. Step 2, the easy part. You have all the elements in your queue. Now you just dupe them off the queue to where they need to go. At the end of the half cycle, there's another one, but vanilla. At the end of the half cycle, it should look like my next Twitch comment. Zorflex, I don't speak Hex. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of info dumping here. Tabbing through this solve, which I will do after I've read these notes, shows you.
Oh no, you leaked Rebec's credit card numbers.
Not deleting my comment. Tabbing through this solve.
On the back.
Alright, Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't understand the last bit of the notes. Like, I can read them, but I'm not really making heads or tails of it. So I'm just gonna try and go back to looking at the solve.
I feel like most of them are just like choose your permanent atoms, propagate in waves. That seems to be the logic of most of them. So that make sure that the stream continues, and like at the end of the 6 cycle stream, make sure everything is in place. That seems to be the logic of most of these. And like you can also do pop of existing atoms in the, I guess you could just call it the matrix.
The grid.
Yeah, I guess the relevant part is not there, but when we get Earth in. Yeah, so I guess relevant is here. You can see it's kind of just cycling through the different like color arrangements. So you can see water is currently where I believe Earth will be. Air is kind of half where fire will be. Fire is where I think air will end up.
So basically there's a stream that runs through the thing, and then like it gets passed down. So at a certain rotation, everything just the stars align and the output outputs.
Right.
That's kind of how you describe this.
Yeah, the colors are kind of in the right spot, but for different colors, and it will cycle through those spots until it hits the right color for the right spot for all 4 of them, which it will do eventually.
What everyone does is like try to calculate that to make the stars align exactly on the 6th cycle.
And on the 6th cycle, Critelli said,
Sounds a bit like
Let
devil
there
worship, doesn't it, on the 6th
Let
cycle?
there be outputs.
Kazian writes the matrix, the grid, the lattice, the sprinkle. I say it's the vibe of the thing, you know?
Let there be light. The light is the origin of light is the calcification glyphs firing off.
Alright, I will do one quick overview of the glyph ordering. I think the glyph ordering makes it more incomprehensible than I think it actually is. I think it's like the hardest possible way to try and analyze it, so I'll keep that in mind as we move.
This one's a bit of a mess. Some of them are very clear when you just run the glyph ordering.
Okay, so in 5th place, beating this by again 10G.
You know, the usual.
The usual. At 930G is Ebenov.
Nice.
this only seems to cycle 4 memory cells, based on the title?
Yeah.
Cycle 4. There is cycle 4.
Oh, I meant that it has 4 memory cells, which I guess would only take 2 cycles because it's 4 half cycles to get there.
This is a pretty looking algorithm, we'll give it that. Yeah, it kind of toggles between 2 states. One that you can see clearly resembles the output, just with different colors, and one that doesn't really, which will be this
There's
one.
a whole lot of notes.
Yeah, I'll give it a quick read. People probably have similar mental models on the constraints, but here's mine. On the last subcycle, only 2 elements can be duplicated from the bellow. Thus, the other 2 elements must have already been present on the molecule. The baseline way to achieve this for one element is to quote-unquote store it on a select atom. Have an atom to duplicate from a source and never calcify. This way, the first non-salt element value the source ever has is always on that atom, which you can see on the fire. The first of two important ideas in this solve is a cyclic approach of storing multiple element values on multiple atoms. If you have written an implementation of swap function, there's this trick of involving a temporary variable like the solve name, which works great here, which is the relevance of the solve name in case you were wondering what the hell that was. To store n element values on n atoms, first make a temporary copy, that is, calcify and duplicate from atom n, make atom n copy from atom n minus 1, and so on and so forth. Make atom 2 copy from atom 1, then make atom 1 copy from the temp, and finally make atom 1 duplicate from the source. This storage mechanism faces the same challenge as the baseline approach. The n values it stores are the first n non-salt element values the source ever has. When previous product is outputted, Berlo has the two not to be stored elements next to the salts, which makes it hard for Berlo to act as the source right away. It can store a wrong value to the baseline approach or add an unwanted value to the cyclic approach. Enters the second important idea: output on the first half cycle. This way Berlo can rotate right away before glyphs act on the next molecule, leaving a salt and then next cycle one of to be stored elements to the source duplication glyph. The easiest way to output on the first half cycle is to have an arm hold the molecule and release on the cycle of output. The cyclic storage layout in this solve brings these two ideas together to reach min area. It stores fire, earth, which you can kind of see here, or right, stream delay, that won't make sense, but I'll go to where I think the fire, earth is.
Though.
Pretty much here.
Yeah, fire, earth happens a lot.
And happens to rotate to match the corner of output at the exact first half cycle output should happen, which means this storage mechanism does the work of the arm too, which is why this solves the problem of needing an arm to pull it out of the way. The rest of the glyphs does the rather mundane work of moving values into specified places. The other two fires are essentially baseline approach storage because, well, it's easy, it's convenient. It also got away from reusing the duplication path that at output time transports Earth, since the first time this path activates, it's fire on it anyway, and that's where the fire just ends up. Yeah, and that'll do me for the notes.
These are some lengthy notes.
These are really helpful notes, by the way, people. I'm appreciating the in-depth notes.
Yeah.
Especially for this week. Probably next week onwards, you can just go back to normal note length.
Yeah, no, next week you don't have to do very long notes.
Next week onwards.
You can have very normal notes for next week. Probably just have to describe some choices you will make for next week.
Okay. I think it's time to move on. We do not take a 10G drop. We don't even take a 100G drop. We take a 210G drop. Next up...
210?
Yeah, next
no,
up...
220?
Oh, right, 220. I can count. Yeah, next up. Utterly convinced they were going to win. They didn't crack top 3.
I was feeling very confident until now.
It is Grimmy.
Because we were having so little drops, and now it's a 220 straight to Grimmy.
So minuscule. 950, 940, 930. So it'll be ages till we get to 710, surely.
Oh, and the drops don't stop.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm riveted. I want to know what happens here.
I think that's just the first big drop in it. Maybe.
Alright, these notes actually have graphs, which I cannot copy paste into the Twitch chat.
You just read out the graphs, obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously I'll just read out the graph. Alright, I'll do my best here.
But basically, this is the same thing I have described before. It's use permanent atoms and do the river thing, and when the stars align, it outputs, but it does it very efficiently. Basically. The river that goes through this is in a very orderly. I think this one's pretty useful to use the overlap exploding view.
Alright.
Since Grimmy was the first one to start submitting things, I actually looked through their solves.
Alright, so you can kind of see this like ring in the middle. This like river forming, kind of. If I'm not mistaken.
Back and forth.
Visually, it looks simpler this, but it's still damn complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still complicated. I might honestly like copy paste these into the Discord later because these are interesting notes, but they kind of rely on the graph, so I don't think reading them out is going to do the notes justice. I'll give it a go. Making an output in the most straightforward way leads to outputting on cycle 3, which means the next input spawns while Bell is in the wrong position, getting the machine permanently stuck. So this is kind of the basis of why I know a couple people were having problems where they could get the first output, they could output the first one easy, and they couldn't get the other 5.
Yeah, because everybody's trying to do it in one instruction.
To avoid this,
You don't have to.
but to avoid this, either you can just use more instructions, or, as Grimmy says, we have to delay output until cycle 6, which requires quote-unquote remembering elements from many half cycles ago. And this is where the graphs start.
Yeah, this is just similar to the previous solutions we've been looking at, but it's very, very efficient.
It's just a lot more efficient with where it places the
Grimmy is an overlap god. Kind of interesting how this one has all the permanent atoms. Yeah. It looks very regular too. This is one of the more symmetrical solves.
Alright, I do apologize. I really don't think I'm going to be able to analyze this one very well, Grimmy. I know you're already doing a pretty good job in the Twitch chat, but I do feel like I've let you down a bit here with my analysis. I will move on, though, kind of sheepishly.
We got the easy to explain softs coming up.
That is true. So, as Biss teased, we have another drop. So we jumped down from 710 to 540 in third place, Caluresis.
Yippee!
More than one instruction.
So, if you use more than one instruction, you can just slowly dial in the colors you want.
Yeah, so
and
this
put
one
them in the
actually
loop.
is almost...
That just goes around and round.
Yeah. This almost gives me...
You can see how the colors are just walking down the loop, and you just slowly dial the colors in.
This almost gives me Purified Gold TI vibes. Almost. The idea... Alright, so this is Caluresis' notes. The idea of this solution is to have the colors travel in a loop and to color one atom at a time by timing the Berlo rotation. This solves the issue of atoms getting colored 2 at a time due to half cycles, since already colored atoms can just block duplication for 1 half cycle. This allows for the correct coloring of every atom except the one at the start end of the loop, which is handled by direct duplication off the Burlow. 2 fire atoms are excluded from the loop, you can very clearly see which ones, and duplicated off of the first passing atom. This saves 2 calcifiers. It is not possible to remove a third fire since there needs to be an even number of atoms in the loop to get that alternating half-cycle alignment so that you can block the proper duplications.
I did call out in my notes that I really didn't explore conditional overwriting, where if only it was salt, you would get the element duplicated onto it. This is really the best possible use of that.
Yeah. 3 people found it. Well, I guess 4 people, because one of them's a team.
Okay, so I think this one, definitely the overlap view will help, because you can very clearly just see a loop happening, so this will help you trace out the loop.
Finally, something we can understand.
So as you can see, it kind of. So as you can see, it kind of does this snake loop, with that
And then
ordering.
it does the fire passes.
So yeah, it's kind of as it snakes around what will be the output. That is like the circuit that it will eventually take. I tell you, getting this right must have been a huge pain in the ass though. And those last couple were the permanent ones.
The permanent ones make sense because, I mean, the first time there is any signal, it'll be fire, so you just dupe once and forget it. Everything else is just about timing, and that does sound hard.
It is all timing. And the idea, it does make sense, but it looks like a humongous pain in the ass to get the timing right. To just because you can see this Burlow has been very heavily programmed. None of this OI BS. No, there was care taken.
All fell for the OI checked.
OI has graph theory, but yeah, OAG has rotary phone strats.
Rotary phone strats. As Mr. Puzzle points out, the instruction tree is in fact free real estate when you're solving for area.
I've been calling these solves color dialing, because that's kind of what it's like. But you know, you can do this faster. The glyph, the cost won't change much from here because, you know, you have to do the loops, you have to do the 2 empty ones, so the cost won't change much from here, but you can do it faster.
Oh yeah, so the cost doesn't change at all from 3rd to 2nd. In 2nd place, we still are on 540G, but instead of 408 cycles, it's 264 cycles with Shadow Cluster.
Tertiary 4.
OA was a mistake.
Classic Shadow Cluster.
Classic.
No, really though.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Alright, Shadow Cluster takes the cake for least passable notes.
What does Shadow Cluster even say?
It's like, alright, so first it's a cost breakdown. Burlow 30G,
Oh.
dupe loop 14 times 30G, set 2 times 20G, Burlow to dupe loop 20G, last 30G, track 5G, 545. He took the track out. It would have cost him 2nd place if he didn't take the track out, which I find very funny.
I don't think he would have cared.
God, I just get the chat notes. God.
Those are the notes.
This is Shadow Clusters, yeah? I think
mean,
Shadow Clusters are more in complaints than in his notes.
There's supposed to be new lines, but Twitch chat doesn't register those, but...
Okay, so I think as more thoroughly explained by Kali Races, I think it's largely the same idea here.
Yeah, except it dials it in faster with,
Yeah, it's just faster
Somehow.
dialing, pretty much. You can see, Kali Races has only started with the 1 fire atom going around. Shadow Cluster here has gone the fire and earth both already immediately start off. So I think that's already by itself going to give you faster dialing, and it's just a matter of squeezing in air and water when the loop comes back around and you can get the air and water in without completely messing up the loop.
Yeah, and the loop is designed in a way so that you can go into several of the same colors in a row, and they'll end up in the right place.
You can kind of see, even in the instruction tray, Shadow Cluster gets his Burlo spinning a lot quicker. I don't know how much of that is just Shadow Cluster messing with me, or if all of that is actually necessary instructions.
I don't know if 4 stable fires is work, or...
No, I like to believe it's actually functional. So I don't think it's just Shadow Cluster throwing in throwing in rotations to mess with me.
And you know Shadow Cluster, it might... Oh wait, no, Shadow Cluster optimized for cycles. There's probably no like non-functional rotations. There was a big drop in cycles between this submission and the last one, and the 5 cost, but that one was that one was trivial.
Yeah. So Shadow Cluster submitted the 378 cycle solve. It would have still beaten Calyresis on cycles, but it almost mattered.
It has 5 cost from the track under Burlo.
But the point is, it did almost matter. So I think it was the right call to make it faster.
Yeah.
Karimi pointing out, if 3 stable fires gives parity issues, why not 4 stable fires? I mean
that might disrupt the loop.
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It's a good question.
Because you have to place because it feels like it has to be fire, so you have to place the 4 fires in a way that...
Graph-wise, you can make a loop that ignores all 4 fires, but then you can't have a fire in the loop because none of the other atoms of the fire. Yeah. So you can't actually keep a fire signal bouncing around if you put fire on all 4 of the fixed spots.
I mean, it's possible, and like you can just avoid that spot on the Burlo.
Shadow Cluster's original submission was titled "This Won't Actually Work. Copy, 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 copy."
I guess we'll just have to see someone make that solve then.
Okay, so
with the 4 stable fires, maybe? I don't know. There might be a reason that we can't do that.
So there is one more solve to go through. So let's see how different it is. In first place, we have Team Mr. Puzzle at 510 G. So there is 30 G's difference between this next
Just
solve
somehow
and the
there's
stage.
33 difference.
Snake question mark. Okay, so Mr. Puzzle wrote the notes here. I'm quite confident this wins first. However, I am certain that this beats at least one other OA equals 23 solve. So I'll skip some of the you can make a duplication snake explanation. This OA solve is my creation, though RPO motivated me to optimize it. It used to be 530G at 720 cycles, which still would have won. In the optimized version, I tried to group the water earth atoms and the fire air atoms as much as possible, since switching color palettes can be tricky. The corner air is duped directly off of Burlo, so I get 5 water earth atoms in a row to make the final steps easier. To keep an even number of atoms in the snake, I also have a dead end water up top. When coloring the snake, I start with the earth water in the top right corner, switching to the air fire palette. I can color the remaining air and fire from both before and after the initial earth water, like burning a candle from both ends. Then I can switch back to the earth water palette to finish the job. Burning a candle from both ends is an amazing analogy for this, by the way. Alright.
So, where does the 30G come from?
To answer that, it might be helpful to go through the glyph overlay.
I feel like the 30G probably comes from the fact that it's not in the center where that one of the stable atoms is straight up duped from the Burlo? Maybe?
It has to have something to do with the placement of the dead end atoms.
Yeah, I mean, all of the ones before had dead end atoms as well for the fires.
Yeah, I think the different the fact that these are placed very differently seems to help for reasons.
Like, the loop length is the same. I think there's just, you don't have to place an extra... Yeah,
Well,
I think
30G
that was
is...
right by the Burlow.
30G
It's a
is...
duplicator and a calcifier.
Yeah, exactly. So, it seems to make for slightly more efficient pathing. Interestingly, their initial solve was 530G, so that would have been a single calcifier, initially. But then, presumably, either a duplicator or 2 calcifiers were saved at a later point.
Oh, 2 calcifiers. Huh.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know. So I have a running. This is like a personal running gag that I've always just held. I don't think I really clue people into this, but in my head, my theory, my head canon, is that RPO is secretly the best player in the game, like of this game on the planet, and he's been holding out on us. So I elect to believe that he gave the credit to Mr. Puzzle and is pretending Mr. Puzzle did all the work here. I don't know. I'm saying, is there any evidence against it? No. Math PhD angry. Oh no.
RP omniscient. Yes.
I'm just saying. think about it. He hosted the first tourney, right? Which means he knew more. There's kind of this basis of knowledge that came in before anyone else even knew how to host a tourney. So he's at the very least, at one point in time, the best tourney host. And at that point, there was no way to decide what the best player in the game was. So why wouldn't it be RPO? Goodbye, Galaxy. They hate me because I tell the truth. Sorry, genius. Yoshi asks...
Yeah, there's been Space Camp tournaments.
Yeah, Space Camp tournaments predated Opus Magnum.
Erase this man just spitting hot fat.
If the stream cuts off, like an hour from now, FBI open up.
That's how we should end the stream, by suddenly ending.
And I just go AWOL for like the next 3 months. You'll know why. Okay.
Yeah, that's what the hour is for. Just for finishing up latency. I don't think latency is gonna take an hour though.
I suspect not.
Is there even 10 submitters in latency?
I don't know.
I think we might be able to scrounge our way to 10.
Vicky, now you know why I said lol to your message.
I had already assumed that before I even said that. Like, I assumed that I'm actually not that cheap, and maybe everyone has figured out 23 by now. So I might be at the bottom of the pile in 23.
So I'm seeing 12 submitters.
Yeah, there's 12, but like
13.
3 of those aren't even latency, so.
Oh, good enough. They're good. They're pretty good enough latency. Yeah, 13. We got 13.
Double digits.
That's 13. I'm a little pleasantly surprised. It was that number was that latency submission number was kind of struggling for a hot minute.
Yeah, people did the overlap area first, and then everybody went like, "Yeah, let's go do the." Let's try.
Anyone who wasn't
latency for a
exhausted
bit.
after the overlap decided to go for latency. Anyone who wasn't brain dead after the overlap.
Okay. before latency starts, I'm going to take a minute to grab some water and some
Okay,
nuts.
good idea. Water break.
So this is your official stream break. Official stream break.
Official efficient stream break. Go take your break as fast as possible.
Yeah, break's over.
For 30
No, I'm
minutes.
kidding.
I'm joking.
Are you not enjoying the break fast enough? Just enjoy it faster. Hangover cure break, yes.
I have to wonder now about a way that you might be able to get sub 500 23A.
I mean, the fact that you are mentioning the 4 stable atoms, that might be possible.
I'm not thinking it would be more stable atoms. I'm thinking it would be 2 disconnected loops.
Would that be cheaper?
Because you would not have to have. So if you have n nodes talking to each other, it's n duplicators. But I guess it wouldn't be cheaper because it would not lower that. For some reason, I was thinking it would be like, oh, you just save 1 by having 2 loops, but that does not work. Not discard what I was saying.
All
Yeah,
I can say is it's unique.
There's the same amount of edges, I think, and the edges are what's like costing.
The edges are the pricey bit, yeah.
Yeah. Break, die hard, break faster. Having 4 triangle loops, huh? But yeah, overlap area turned out a bit more interesting than we thought. I mean, like, I thought it would probably be interesting, but like, we didn't expect it to be
No, I was very
different
pleasantly
methods
surprised.
at the very top. Yeah.
No, I did not expect overlap interesting to be anywhere near as interesting as it was.
Even though most of it was watching the stars align, but
Yeah, I must say, one of my more, I do feel a little ashamed I wasn't able to analyze the solves better. It was very difficult to analyze.
feel free to send your several hundred word analyses in the weekly channel.
Say no
You
more.
can do that over the weekend.
Kelly Reese
Oops,
pointed out that
okay.
if you could swap water for fire in Mr. Puzzle's solution, you could get 2 more stable atoms. That's
Yes, more stable atoms means less calcifiers means better cost.
I wonder now that everyone knows the trick to OA, to make it as cheap as possible to do the snake thing. I wonder if there is, in theory, more cost saves to be made by making like more stable atoms.
Maybe. We'll see. If anyone's gonna do it, it's probably Grimmy.
Fair point. Fair point. Okay, and with that, I think we can have a look at latency.
Quote unquote latency.
Quote unquote latency. Alright.
Yeah, we're gonna start with a solve called latency that is absolutely not latency.
Most normal latency solve. So this is by
Yeah, prepare,
Cuckoo52.
get your Zoom tool ready.
Oh wait, is this going to be in the track only? Oh no.
This is more of a rate.
Da-da-da. Latency moment.
Yes.
This is a whip
Look at
song.
this. This was one of the first ones that I saw. actually. I thought
This is totally latency, is it? Also, we should probably like put it back to normal speed.
it's not really latency.
Surprise, we
but
can use the map.
I think it's
Alright,
rate really.
I'm gonna have to fucking zoom. I have to zoom in to get this.
Oh right, yeah.
There we go. Jesus, that is a very tall solution. Alright.
It's a tree.
Alright, so I'm not gonna do this too.
you
I'm not gonna
know-
do this too many times. I'm just gonna play a few.
You talked about rate solves, Biggie.
Great rate, mate.
8 out of 8.
8 out of 8.
It does have to do some buddy duping because only one of them has fire and one of them has water in it.
Yeah.
worth noting,
It's
it's
a
already.
clever way to do it. You don't have to center it around the burlow.
I'm pretty sure the snake did not need to be this long at this point. I'm not seeing much progress being made on the product. There's like a little bit of progress being made.
Just a bit. Yeah, it basically ends here, and then one of them has to go around.
Also, what's this about centering on Burlow?
What's the button for it?
No,
Well,
just someone
centering
said
on
that you don't have to
Burlow.
center yourself on Burlow because you're just using buddies.
Oh. Oh, so
Oh yeah, because you don't. The salt doesn't have to just revolve around the burlow. So like you can just pass them off into like the rest of the pipeline without like staying around the burlow for more of a sink.
My dumbass brain thought you said Critelli, even though you clearly said Burlow.
It's okay, yeah, Curtelli is like the programmed word.
Alright, well, I don't think that says much about latency theory. It's
No, not at all. This is a rate solve.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's great. I don't think Cuckoo was really going for latency, to be honest. Was it?
If the metric was rate with a with secondary, we're cooking, but we're not cooking. So, Cuckoo 52. Cuckoo 52 writes, rate was more fun, no real planning here. Just kept adding arms until it worked. That's a respectable
the wrong recipe.
Cooking 52.
Alright. In 12th place is a new submitter. Warms my heart to see it. So welcome to the Weeklies NTS with a latency score of 77.
This one actually looks like a latency. Well, at least it doesn't look like a rate solve.
Looks like a possible solution. As in, with an R, possible.
And still taking the metric seriously.
If I say possible PARS and possible PASS, with my Australian accent, there is zero difference in how it's pronounced.
There is not.
You literally can't tell if I'm saying PASS or PARS.
Yeah, no, I cannot.
That's the same in the southern parts of England, it's the same. You say pass, but if you're from up north, that I was born originally, we say pass. Yeah.
Okay.
I say pass because I live down south, even though I was born sort of up north in England, but I live down south now.
Yeah, pronounce it parsable or passable.
Well, I'd say passable now, but 20 years ago, I'd have said passable.
Passable. There, that's my attempt.
Yeah, pass.
It just sounds so unnatural to me.
Passable.
It does not gel with my accent. All right. The solve itself. Sorry. See, as mentioned, this is possible PARS.
Passable. Yeah, possible.
Language. Sure, it's interesting. Yeah, this is kind of the issue if you're gonna have to revolve around the burrow. You have to lug this entire large product around.
Yeah, so I think one of, if not the main theme of latency for this puzzle is the Burlow wheel. It's a pain in the ass. And that is on full display at the moment here. Even because there's like a couple of atom colors that are wrong. And Arm 3 has to do this unfortunate big swing around to get those last two.
The center atom is like... The center 4 atoms are the difficult ones to do when we're out of the realm of overlapping.
Well, also the 4 water are as inconveniently placed relative to each other as possible.
Too. The 4 corners.
Alright, appreciate your submission, NTS. I hope to see more from you. We will move
Saying
on.
that the sprinkle was size of the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, that's a very large crystal, alright.
Oh, Jesus. Alright, moving on to the top 10. We take a 20 cycle dive down to 57 with spiritual shampoo.
We're back to quote unquote latency solves.
Whose
Because
solution is also
spiritual shampoo and Kuka 52 did the exact same thing and named yourself the exact same thing.
except spiritual shampoo did height.
I love that it was plural, and I see why.
They're both called latency. They're both actually rate solves.
One of them's height, one of them's width. That's the only major difference here.
It's more of an aesthetic thing, I think, isn't it? But it's still nice, and a rate thing as well, of course.
I do like this arm chain though. That actually gives it a pretty cool aesthetic. Charm.
Well, also, it's 69 cycles. Very nice.
And it is 69 cycles. This is important. Alright. The Burlo does not spin. That is an instruction optimized Burlo wheel. Important.
Don't need a spin when you double when you're doing buddy dipping.
Which pretty much means the top crystal is going to be the earth fire crystal and the bottom one's going to be the water air crystal, and they just kind of need to like kiss in the middle here to get the
That's one way to describe it.
Yeah.
The sprinkles are kissing.
Well, and then they back off and play a game of Will I Won't I before coming together in the end and embracing one final time. So really, this solve is a romantic comedy. Alright.
Amazing.
Okay. Moving on from that hard-hitting analysis. We take an 8-cycle drop to 49 cycles with Goodbye Galaxy.
Just for
Is this
reference, I counted just before this stream started my solve, which wasn't for anything when I first created. I didn't know what things would do. The latency of mine would have been 54, just to say my practice test solve, which
We
isn't
have
here.
beat the test solve. This was called Nakatomi Plaza. And I actually like
Another
what
with
that
solve.
was.
Once more, you can see this innovative latency theory. I'm astounded by the creativity.
Yeah, the latency is good if you don't backtrack, right?
And
Latent
Just go
chips was
straight down.
weak.
actually, you know, if we wanted to really make it an annoying metric, we could have done like latency, but you're only allowed to use 2 arms, and one of them's the bellow. And pretty much force
Okay, this must be a pleasing solution to Zorfax. It has minus signs.
very, very pleasing. Good to see. Goodbye Galaxy.
It's latency width, isn't it? Really? Or height, rather. Latency height.
This one's with, I think.
SMH Australian some optimizers who did not major in tech and also like the minus instruction.
My God, is Australian now?
Is that not the case?
No, Goodbye Galaxy's Canadian.
Canadian. I was mistaken for the entire time I've known you. Oops.
The British Commonwealth people.
That'd be so cool though if he was Australian. Anyway,
Yeah, they're both Commonwealth. That's good enough.
Commonwealth. Alright. Again, innovative bellow tech, but I'm gonna move on because I think the solve speaks for itself. It's perfect as is. It needs no explanation. So, I will move
Oh yeah,
on.
Gearbox Gordon, our chicken farmer.
Moving on to 8th place at 47 cycles. We have Yosh, a new submitter. Welcome to the Weeklies. It is wonderful to see you.
Welcome to the Weeklies. Even though you've been very active in the Opus Magnum chats.
Yay!
Workshop fan turns weekly player.
The workshop's a great way to just... That's how I learned Opus Magnum, kind of half after I'd finished the campaign. I optimized a bunch of workshop puzzles. I think it's valid. I see you guys. Alright, let's have a look at the notes here. TFW, the output is almost a Sudoku, but not quite. At least it's a Latin square. Those damn fire atoms are a real nuisance. Why do they have to be situated like that? At least the waters are all on the perimeter. Who hurt you, Genius 42? Who wronged you? Are you okay?
Like I mentioned earlier, yeah, I did that deliberately.
I definitely think for latency especially, it proves to be like a very, it makes the puzzle very inconvenient. You gotta do a lot of finagling to get those middle ones. I'm bringing back the word finagling. This
Yeah, we see how people deal with the finagling in the later solves.
Yeah, I might be wrong because I think it means it forces at least 2 translations of colour, doesn't it, or something? So I'm losing my voice again. For the middle fire atoms, that is, it forces at least 2 translations of colour.
Well,
I think.
yeah, it does. Well, it'll force a lot of duplicating. I think that's the main point. It's a big crystal. You need to do a lot of duplicating. And the Burlow is only going to get you so much duplication because it's a Burlow.
All my homies hate Burlow.
Society, if no Burlow.
Society, that we can have multiple Burlows.
If multiple, oh man, that would trivialize this puzzle.
What if?
Not necessarily for the central atoms, but yeah, I suppose it trivialises a lot of the outside ones, wouldn't it?
So Yosh is calling attention to an unnecessary track. I think it's arm 7. It's specifically the hex that I currently have my mouse over is tracked that is not necessary. So interesting little micro optimization tidbit there. Alright.
Not that it really matters because we're still on primary drops.
No. It will not have mattered because the next solve is 14 cycles quicker. So in 7th place. Also a name I'm not accustomed to seeing. They might have submitted for the tournament. They might not have, but if they haven't, welcome Jammu.
Welcome to the Weeklies.
Certainly heard the name. Yeah, I'm not sure if that person submitted in the tournament or not. I remember
I'm
seeing
not
the
sure.
name, though.
They've been active in the chat, so.
Alright, the Burlows.
Well, one
Getting
solution
back
to
at
not having multiple Burlows, put it on a track.
This is much quicker than solves we've had before, actually.
Burlow not big enough, just move it around.
Okay, so get all the fire duplicated and most of the earth. We're starting air duplication and water duplication. We've got a wrong duplication, so we're gonna fix that up. But you see, and yeah, all the inside ones are already done. So I think a reason this solves better than the ones before is because it kind of tries to avoid cross duplicating like all the way through the middle of the big crystal. Instead, just trying to like get all those middle atoms duplicated from the outside, as opposed to going through the middle, because that's longer and more painful. Which is why it's kind of like rotating around the Burlow a bit. The Burlow's kind of joshing its way into position a lot. So good, I think it's good tactics to note. We'll see if they get made use of in different ways as we go down the order. Appreciate this. What's up? Oh wait.
I just wanted to call out that every person except for Cuckoo52 placed the same as someone who got min area for overlap.
No way.
So you can use that to see, like, is this a good solve? It's a great solve.
Yes, it is a good solve. Alright. Without further ado, we move on to 6th place. down to 25 cycles, we have Bambi, whose solve is unsalted. Somewhat ironic because I'm eating salted cashews at the moment, but
I want some cashews.
they'd be tasty.
I love cashews.
Okay, so
Edge Burlow with Catalyst. There we go.
Yeah, here's the catalyst.
okay, so yeah, I think we were kind of, a lot of us were expecting catalysts to pop up at some point. Because that is basically, if you play your cards right, a second Burlow wheel. Or at least that's how you can think of it in terms of duplication.
Why is it called unsalted? Because I can see at least one salter there.
There is one calcify. It might just be referring to the fact that the region is generally all salt and you have to turn it off salt. So I think it's just a reference to the bottom.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Guess so. It might have been just naming it from the like I say, the whole salt chunk.
Yeah. So let's have a look at this early duplication, see if it makes it say. So you get the 4 normal ones. Kind of working on side 2 at the same time we're spreading fire and earth down the chain. And then we kind of flip it around. And there's one annoying earth one that we missed, but we can use these catalysts for that. So I think that's a fair enough way to get the duplication working. Alright, nothing in the notes, so we are still on our own for the time being. I think that the question kind of is raised here that, because there is only one atom on that catalyst that is actually useful. What if more? Alright.
Multiple catalysts, very, very thick with color.
Alright, moving on. To 5th place, we take a drop down to 23 cycles, which is the same as the area count for overlap area, for those paying attention. We have Ebonov. Alright, I'll zoom out for this one.
I love the hex arms. That's a very clear sign that there were catalysts. And since there's no bonders, you can't make a waste chain about them.
So even if we had a glyph of disposal, that's not really a viable way to dispose of all these atoms, because there's just so many of them, and you want to make them solve quickly, so just hex arm.
I also have 2 catalysts, and I drop one back in on top of the input to save gold, and the other is just a hex arm.
So 2 different catalysts here. You'll have our final one will be this so the one we want to pay attention to is this first one that is grabbed. That is the central one and the one that will actually be outputted. And the other 2 are just kind of being catalyzed off to the side while fire and earth spreads. Always fire and earth. So we can see bottom catalyst is already used. Top catalyst comes in to finish the top edges. Bottom catalyst comes in here as well. So heavy use of catalysts here. That gets you down to 25. Sorry, 23.
Return to food.
And then just immediately crashes after outputting.
Oh yeah, because of the waste.
Because of the waste, yeah.
And yes, all the catalyst waste. Did the catalyst change throughout the solve? Is it like, shouldn't it be possible to just reuse the catalyst?
Yeah. I'd say Ebonov didn't.
Or
do
because
that
the
for programming.
catalysts. Or because it catalyzes in different spots, so it might
it'd be painful. I think it'd be possible, but
Yeah.
painful. It'd be less painful because you can see it's a pretty short instruction tray. So for both programming and just headache reasons, I think it's just let's just throw a couple of wheel arms and just store it. I only need 6 anyway. I think that's the thinking behind the catalyst's waste.
Yeah, if this was like a tournament and you really, really needed to cut all the cost you could, maybe you would find a way to make the next 5 products slightly differently and reuse existing catalysts to not have excess cost on the hex arms, but gosh, no.
Oh yeah, imagine if we just threw a glyph of disposal anyway, just to shit on people wanting disposal.
Unfortunately, we can't just set a product count to 1.
It really is a shame we can't just do that.
I mean, the best we can do is something like rust removal, which is basically a latency puzzle.
Alright, so reading the notes real quick. While I can't actually pinpoint where the rest of the owl transition happened, it's arguably quite early after the general direction of colouring the centre and having helper salt blocks colouring the edge and finding a decent burlow placement so that salt blocks can dupe from burlow in 2 directions without suppressing for too long. I do feel lucky that the final swings didn't get too problematic. Many arm placements felt dangerously close to molecule swings, but just worked. Yeah, interesting actually, if you have a closer look at the swings. They seem a bit like,
For being such a large molecule, it sure does tile well.
good thing. So there's actually pretty cool swings to note here. Also, it's just occurred to me I haven't been able to do Pivot of the Week because overlap area literally hasn't had a single pivot. Hopefully these next 5 solutions give us some good pivots. And I did say 5, not 4, because the next solve is a host solve. This is Haxton's playtest solve, dropped down to 22 cycles. And you're just looking at it, it looks simpler than the last solve.
He made this about a year ago because I think this is the one that he showed me and said, "Oh, I've had a go."
This was about a year ago.
I came up with, yeah, it's not bad for something that came up with just 2 or 3 days after I saw it.
It's a far simpler approach of what if duplication C? You can see an absolute buttload of duplications happening at the start here, just to shuffle the colors into the right direction, and they come out kind of approximately the same, and then you use the other side of the burlow wheel to get the other side, get those like far end duplications happening. It's output.
Yeah, and then the water's a pain because it's on both ends, but
yeah, here's the example of the
What
water
can you
not
do?
being convenient. Kind of funny, it depends on your approach. I think this approach, kind of, the center atoms don't appear to be that inconvenient. They kind of are, but it's those water atoms on the edges that really slows down Haxton here, ironically.
Yeah, if you don't have catalysts, the 4 water positions are just all so much motion to reach.
Good argument for catalysts, I think, as we move forward, but I could be wrong. I don't actually know what the winning solves look like yet, so I'm unspoiled.
yeah, we spent most of our time looking at the overlap solves.
Just because
Before
overlap
the-
needed so much attention.
Yeah.
Kazian mentioning that his homies don't hate the burley, they hate water. This is a fair approach. In 4th place, team still not a Jasper. Speaking of Kazian, just another 1 cycle drop down to 21 now, and a very nice use of the equilibrium glyph down here. I think this is the most important part of the solve. Okay.
Oh, it's nice. That I had a quick glance at some of these. Yeah, it's very nice, that bit.
Okay,
Oh, it's
so
even using TI tech for it.
Yes, kind of looks like a TI solve that needs duplication, just because the best way is usually just to have a river of duplication glyphs. Right, so very similar approach to Haxton, but with you making use of more arms, getting more rotations in quicker.
And one catalyst for the last 2 atoms.
Worth noting that this one is kind of notably more expensive than Haxton's, just as it's faster to just use as many duplicators as possible, and this makes use of more duplicators. So it does squeeze, and there is a cheeky catalyst at the end here, which is actually why this arm exists. And yeah, it's very TI, actually.
Yeah, I like that bit there. That kind of.
like that movement cadence. So yeah, I guess the catalyst hit's nice because it gives the bellow wheel something to do while it waits for the actual one that will be outputted. And then the catalyst is here ready. It's a good latency shaving here. There are notes here, and they are Kazian notes, so I will be reading.
Oh yeah.
Though I wish I could describe why this machine dispenses a sprinkle in 21 cycles rather than the previous high 20s attempts. Rather than the previous high 20s attempts, my insight is incomplete. We simply built various machines and this one was the fastest. We learn from the brilliance of Van Berlo and do everything we can when we stray from him, but must ultimately return to the experts in order to amend our mistakes. This machine is a metaphor for the alchemist of intermediate skill. Previous machines attempted adding fire and earth first in order to reach the center with the appropriate essences, but this caused the duplication of the air side of the firewall to require calcification, which necessitated handoffs to clear the calcification area, which required cycles. Unacceptable. This time, we spent several cycles at the beginning to pre-populate the air side. I'm also going to play this, but slow it down a bit. Sorry. Alright, actually, yeah, maybe next week I will get that button thing. The saving grace we find is not just the lack of late calcification, but the water picked up in that first step. By the time the sprinkle arrives for its final atoms, they can be delivered quickly with a sacrificial Sankin input, which collects the needed essences by working around Van Berlo's busy schedule. It is of good fortune that a simple track movement is enough for an output rather than a final handoff. Enjoy your savory sprinkles. They're more agreeable on chicken than iced dairy. Alchemist Kazian in correspondence with Alchemist Jasper. So I do think that
guy
was... Sorry.
He needs to write this. He needs to write the story for the next tournament. Kazian.
Oh, that's an idea. That'd be cool.
Only if they want to. If they want to.
No pressure. No, but I think that goes through a lot of the same thing we talked about, how like the kind of making use of the Berlo's downtime to get squeezed in a second catalyst, and the fact that you can just slide an output is fortunate. I do agree with that. Overall, good stuff. This is nearly top 3. So yeah, but in order to get top 3, you did need under 20 cycles, which brings us to 3rd place at 19 cycles at 1100G, Biggie.
I was not expecting to be top 3, and I'm happy I am.
Oh, I have not been using that button. Cool, I just fat fingered it, and yeah. Uh-oh, there we go. I should be using that button more.
Jackson? Oh, no, that was...
So I do fall into the trap that Kazian calls out, where I just start off with fire and earth propagating, and then I will have to calcify things to get air. But I do use a catalyst as early as I can to move some air into the structure. there's only one handoff of the main thing, although there is also a dead cycle where it is over the output but missing one dupe.
Alright. I'll go ahead and read the notes this time. It feels okay, but has a few obvious shortcomings. I did not want to try to fully explore the solution space, so this is my first and only latency solve. General idea: fire and earth from Burlow directly, air from an ASAP catalyst will help complete the 3 long diagonals. The lone earth can be handled in place while using the unfilled water spot for air storage, whereas the lone air on the opposite side can be handled by a catalyst. Then water is all catalysts and needs 2 of them because the water is on too many sides at once.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? The water on the side.
Yeah.
Fortunately, one of the catalysts gets recycled back into the input, so it doesn't require as much handling after.
Yeah, that's nice.
Really, right at the end, it'd be really good if it didn't have to do that until, just to get the final bit on right at the end, because that'd save 2 cycles, wouldn't it? But probably impossible to do that, or very different.
Next up, 17 latency.
It would save 1 cycle, but I don't think I could save 2 because there's just nothing. There's not a glyph available because I still have to calcify. It becomes water.
Okay, so pretend you didn't hear Best, because next up is 19 latency still, but cheaper. In second.
I was just memeing.
So at 625G is Fiesta Land with wiggly
half the
coloring.
cost.
Tied Fiesta Land 1 placement away in both of them, but with different costs.
Okay,
Squiggly. Oh wow, this is very compact.
Yeah, that looks compact.
Yeah, I think it's for the best that I've slowed this down, because there is a lot of duplication happening very quickly. It's very compactly placed here.
It just reuses it.
It just kind of uses the alright, so kind of drawing inspiration from overlap area a bit in this absolute sea of duplicators.
I mean, yeah, their overlap solve was also squiggly.
It's actually resourceful use of duplicators here.
Also, yes, this does mean that Team Mr. RPO Zol wins both categories.
Yeah, congrats to Mr. Puzzle. Clean sweep to start off the weekly. They enter week 2 undefeated.
Like you say, it's a secret of RPO, isn't it?
I'm just saying. Like, am I wrong? Like, is there any evidence against my theory?
Well, Mr. Puzzle has had a few wins, to be honest, in the past, but hey.
No, why do you think RPO doesn't compete in an official
evidence.
capacity all the years?
Oh, too good, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Alright, you
Good
just want
point.
to show us his power level.
Mr. Puzzle and RPO are secretly the same person.
Whoa.
now
Now we're
that's
getting
the
into the
thing
deep
I can
cut
get
there.
behind.
Alright, I think we've tasted enough. Let's have a look. So at 17 latency, 2 cycles clear of anyone else. Mr. Puzzle.
Yeah, that's the 17.
You
So
never
I
see
didn't
them in the
realize
same
you were
place.
memeing. I thought you were actually just spoiling it. And I'm like, no! My bad.
No,
You
you
never
don't have
see
to
them in
think
the
of
same place at
it.
the same time,
I
do you,
just-
Mr. Puzzle and RPO?
I just made the joke because of like us talking about being able to save 2.
Yeah, it didn't click until after. Alright, so I assume this is written by Mr. Puzzle. Using only one side of the Burlow misses a bunch of free estates. That's where catalyst inputs come in. At 17 cycles, this is equivalent to doing 1 good duplication per cycle, which isn't too shabby given the dupe pattern and geometry.
Oh yeah, there's like 16. There's 16 atoms and this does it in 17 cycles. That's pretty nice. Pretty neat.
And with the +1, that means it's 1 each. I will keep bringing up the +1 because RPO is on this team, and I know their take on the +1.
That is a clutch swing to finish off, by the way. To get 2 catalysts in at once.
Yeah, I really like the end of this. This is like the tryhard version of what I made, which I had told Bist if I tryharded the version of what I made, it would be like 16 or 17. So this team takes the game seriously and did a really good job with it.
Boom. You can, as Bist called out earlier, the fact that the regions actually tile with each other nicely is taken full advantage of here.
Yeah. Pivot of the week.
Yeah, even though actually that is outright very clear pivot of the week. No, I can't even think of any other competitors for pivot of the week.
How many showcase songs do we have? I think we have a lot of them.
I think we got a fair few, yeah.
Yeah. Most of them are overlap.
But
Because
also,
people want to do all the other overlap metrics.
I'll also call out what I will also assume to be Mr. Puzzle's typically clever initialization tactics here. Getting a looping solve.
Oh yeah.
Because now I can just grab one and those 2 catalysts are just permanent catalysts. This is some legitimately cool alchemy. Well done on the clean sweep. I think it is very thoroughly deserved.
Congratulations.
Let's see if it continues next week. Week 2 reveal? Were we doing showcase first or week 2 reveal first? People seem to want to see the reveal
we'll do showcase
first.
first because I don't actually have the puzzle downloaded yet.
Alright.
We'll do the showcase first because I'm lazy.
I'll send it. I'll send a empty version to you
Thanks.
if I have it. Let me check. Yeah, normally we reveal before showcase. I mean, I guess we can do that now.
Oh, okay. If you want to just DM it to me.
Well, let me see if I... No, I do not have it. Well, I have an idea on how to do it then. I'll just download from this website and change it up a bit. No, where's
Sorry for the-
not Steam user, custom, save, go and open Magnum, new, there it is. Delete the reagent. And there we go. Now I have to find it in the non-Steam user custom
Alright.
place and send it to you. Where's Zorflex in my DMs? There it is. Okay, this one should be good.
Unplanned second break, I guess, as we as we get the alright, so this is this puzzle's gonna need a bit of explaining, which is why downloading it is surprisingly not straightforward.
I will also make it public as you review it.
Yeah.
Tell me when you do.
Okay, now. Okay, so, the puzzle, tonic of transmogrification. Note, there isn't a region. That's gonna be the trick to this puzzle. The trick to this puzzle is that you have to make the region. The catch is that you only get 3 atoms. The region can only be up to 3 atoms. But other than that, you have complete freedom
Also
within
has
the-
to be legal in the in-game solution editor.
Also, yeah, it can't be like overlapped or anything. Now, Bist is making this the puzzle public. I assume when she
It is public right now.
Yeah, okay.
Have fun.
So Panic actually has set up for us because Panic is a wizard, an on-site like region like creator. So like basically he's remade the this bit where you create a region, but on events.crytelli. For you to create your own puzzle, download your own puzzle, and submit your own puzzle. So you'll be
very
submitting-
sure that you do not change the puzzle in-game.
No, don't.
Be
you
very
don't-
sure. Because we base it off of the, the little number tag after the puzzle name to know which input you use. So don't change your input.
So yeah, actually, yeah, Biss raises a good point. When you change the region, do that on Panic's website, not in-game. That is an important distinction because then you kind of mess up the.
Otherwise, our parser will be like, this is supposed to be a different input.
The metrics are cycles, just straight up cycles, and sum.
Cycles area.
Isn't it cycles cost?
No, it's cycles area. Or is it? Oh no, it's cycles cost. No, cycles area. What's so much? Teaser. Cycles area comes up in the future.
There will be a cycles area puzzle. It is not this one.
Yeah.
So does
Mention
it have to
online
be
version.
three
Oh, yeah.
atoms? 3 connected atoms.
Oh
Three
yeah, Grimmy
connected
raised a good
atoms,
point. What
yes.
are the available glyphs? So ignoring.
No quintessence. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, sorry, ignoring my mod glyphs, these are the Infinifactor glyphs. You do not get access to them. It's just, all the bonders, dupe, calce, and animismus, and disposal.
Yeah, no, we made sure there was no quintessence.
No quintessence. No, I mean, there's none in this.
Because quintessence are very compact and messes with our solution, messes with our calculations.
Yeah, so yeah,
We-
no quintessence.
Calculations for this puzzle.
So we can't have quintessence as one of our atoms. We can't have that.
No, that would be relevant for yeah, that would be very powerful.
I mean, you can have quintessence atoms in your input. You just can't do shit with it.
Oh yeah. So, I see. We don't have the glyphs to be able to. Yeah, get you. Okay, fine. Yeah.
How do I feng shui this as people?
You can have it as waste, is what you're saying. Okay.
Indeed.
I mean, there's the way you can place it on the side.
I'll just do that. Screw it. Whatever, that's good enough. Tonic of transmogrification, so...
I guess the transtonic.
Sorry? Oh yeah, trans tonic.
We've been calling it various names during development. It's the transtonic, it's the mist of gender revoking, it's the tonic of transmorbing. This product
Correct,
has several names.
So yeah, Yoshi is correct. The input cannot have more than 3 atoms per input set. Yep, that is the limitation.
Okay. And they have
What
to be
a nice
connected.
color scheme in the product. I wonder if
So you can't have like one atom. You can't have like one single atom.
Oh my god,
two
Vicky
atoms.
already.
I don't know if that'd be advantageous at all anyway, but you can't have like
Just
a single
happy
atom.
Pride, everyone.
Yeah, Goodbye Galaxy, correct. You can make a reagent with 1 or 2 atoms if you want.
Ah, okay. I don't know if that'd be advantageous or disadvantageous, but I'm just thinking, just wondering.
Getting this out before the end of Prime Month was a motivator. Yeah, we had the rainbow puzzle for week 1. Now it's the trans puzzle for week 2. Perfect.
It didn't actually occur to me that week 1 was a rainbow puzzle, but that's a good point.
It is actually a coincidence that it happened this way, but you know.
I'll have to see if Biggie will let me be on the team because I can't do it.
So
Well, it
this
might
is
be
a
a
question. I'm gonna ask you to fill this one in, Bist. Can you have like multiple regions as long as they add up to 3 or not?
No.
No, no. So you can't do what you did, Yoshi. It's just the first 3 that you have bracketed, not the last 3.
Yeah, just whatever the thing on the website allows.
Yeah, you only get 1 region. In other words, with up to 3 atoms in that one region.
All right. So we could have 1 or 2. I don't think it'd be advantageous, but it could be wrong. But it could just be like 1 atom if we
I would
wanted.
be curious to see if you can if there's like a 2 atom or a 1 atom reagent that is just ends up being more convenient, maybe for some or something.
But yeah, so it's 1 reagent, and that 1 reagent can have at most 3 atoms. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
I look
Between
forward.
1 and 3 atoms.
I look forward to seeing what you'll come up with for this puzzle. I'm excited for this.
I look forward to seeing the variety of inputs.
Just like
And we discussed for so long how to deal with the parsing as well.
Oh yeah, no, Panic and
Panic's done an amazing job, honestly.
honestly, Panic's the MVP of these first 2 weeks, getting the parser and the website to be compatible with not only overlap, but also this custom region idea. This is not possible without Panic.
Well done to Panic then.
Well done to Panic. Okay. Which I think that'll take us to the final leg of our stream, which is Showcase Solve. So, starting with Jason, which was the last solve submitted this week, actually.
Yeah, I noticed that. Oh, hey, Jason's submitted. But we have to pronounce Jason with a lot of stuff.
Jason.
Jason.
Alright, the notes read, this is it. The one you've been waiting for. The Magnum Opus of all solutions. The solution so wide, it's almost like it has no width at all. But don't let its width fool you. This solution is also incredibly deep. It's packed with insights and wisdom. It's a solution that will stay with you long after you've finished looking at it. So if you're looking for a solution that's both wide and deep, then this is the one for you. This is the Opus Magnum solution. Courtesy of Deep Language AI.
And I probably was playing in slow motion with that dramatic introduction.
That is true. I will speed it up though. Yeah, I will toggle the thing next week, so I'm still not doing this.
And I have to zoom in for this shit as well.
Yeah.
Die Hard 15.5.
How many Die Hard movies have they made? Is it like 5 or 6?
No fucking clue.
You watched all the Die Hard movies, right, Bist? That sounds
about
like something.
I've watched a total count of 0 of them.
I think it's about 5 or 6. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Only the first 3. Well, the first 2 were good. The third one was okay. After that, it got a bit shit.
Yeah, it did. I actually did watch those. I watched the first couple as a kid. But no, 90s action movie sounds exactly like the thing you would watch, right, Best? Nevertheless, I will maintain Die Hard, the first one's a Christmas movie. That is a hill I will.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a Christmas movie. Because it's at Christmas time.
It takes place during Christmas. There's like Christmas trees and shit everywhere. It's relevant to the plot that it's Christmas.
Yep.
It's a
They
Christmas
sing a Christmas song at the end. It's totally Christmas.
I had to get that out of my system at some point during the stream. I just had to get... Alright. So, moving on. Username Void. With new solution 3 copy. Love to see it.
I see this as
okay, so this is their yeah. This looks overlap area, but like that's right. This was their idea. So Username Void fell into the so he outputs one product, but he can't get the other 5 because it's kind of like the duplication is messed up. So if we wait for it to actually output, which I think it's kind of takes a surprising amount of time to get all the right colors in the right spots, properly finagled, if you will. This is actually very intensive, actually. Oh, okay, I don't think it ever actually outputs. Okay, my bad.
It was just an idea that and he tried to output it.
Ran
But
out of
he couldn't because of yeah.
Yeah, ran out of time. Most of a 1 out of 6 OA Soul balked something somewhere so it doesn't output. It did work at one point. Yeah, it is kind of funny how the best solves kind of hone... It got complicated and then it got simple. I do find that funny. You don't usually get that when you're talking about Opus Magnum optimizations. It usually doesn't simplify, but I find it pretty cool that it did here. And yeah, this is very complicated. So
Yeah, it only had a few parts, but it's very complicated. I suppose the simplification was because, you know, it was all about bonders and not bonders because we didn't have any of those. No, it was all about the calcifiers and the, what do you call them?
duplicators.
Duplicators, that's it. It was all about those, wasn't it? And the combination of how they're combined.
So I'm just going through the ordering, just in case there's someone in Twitch who can make heads or tails of it using that function. Moving on there. We have ORI by Mr. Puzzle. So overlap rate. Here we go. Overlap rate.
Yeah, it has the perfect catalyst.
The perfect
right.
catalyst.
You can just do that. Yes.
Alright, so how is this possible? Let's go through.
Just passes it down. Because you can...
Yeah,
the problem with Burlo is you can't access all 4 sides at the same time. But what if you could access all 4 sides at the same time?
Yeah, that was like a big part of the challenge of overlap area is that you don't really get a catalyst because the product's so goddamn big. But what if catalyst? So yeah, interesting. It's kind of an interesting note on how the puzzle encouraging area of all metrics kind of constrains you in a way that made the puzzle hard, as opposed to if we picked a different overlap metric, it would have just made the puzzle easier. Alright, so next up is again Mr. Puzzle. This one is overlap cycles. So I'm just gonna tab through these. And this one needs no rate, so actually it's only 5 instructions, not bad. Alright, once again, going through the glyphs real quick. I like how it makes the output sound whenever I place the product or the reagent using this, even though the solve's not playing. And again, broadly similar idea to rate, where it just kind of passes it down. Except this one just doesn't have a rate. And yeah, it's literally delayed so that it can eventually output 6 before ARM2 moves the catalyst out of the way. Because instructions were optimized here. Right, yeah, because it's in the title, OCI. Okay, moving on. We have one from Fiesta Land, titled Orbiting One Eye. So this is one way to get OI, but I guess it's not OI with an area secondary. Actually, this is pretty cool.
It's interesting that Grimmy actually brought up this layout in the weekly chat as a way that OI might actually be able to go cheaper than the one-eye solutions.
Yeah, this particular example isn't that cheap, but I bet that there'd be more to this.
It's a tall order because the one-eye solutions got down to Grimmy 710.
That is fair though. Yeah. So I remember there was a bit of premonition about how cycles were sacrificed for OA for the sake of cost. Do you know what that was about, Biggie?
My assumption was that it was a trade-off between latency and cost. Like, I could add 30 gold to mine to make it complete on 33 cycle instead of 36 cycle. But I think Greenmy was also going around a Pareto frontier of how much they could get at 33, 34. But it seems like there's a big instructions. Like, the cheapest ones had a lot more instructions and a lot more cycles, so it's very different.
Yeah, the cheap. It was just because it was weird for the cheapest ones. I don't know. Maybe there was a way to make that cycle thing, that snake idea, faster if you just added more to the chain. But I'm just spitballing that.
I'm trying to think of who was talking about finding that, and it was John, it was Greeny, it was me. All of us had graph theory solves. We did not have the snake loop. So I'm pretty sure that that was just a feature of whether you could add latency at 33 or 34 or 35, 36, and have different costs at each one.
Alright. Moving on to our next showcase. It is from Spiritual Shampoo. Actual OICG. So again, overlap instructions, but this is cycle optimized. And it's only 33.
Yep, I considered submitting my 33 as well. I think Greeny's 33 is the cheapest, as far as anyone knows. They called it out in chat. So this is OICG within Spiritual Shampoo's universe of solutions, but Greeny had a faster one. Not faster, same speed, cheaper. Yeah, Creamy's was 980G.
Yeah, okay.
The whole way that you get 33 is by taking 3 cycles to reestablish steady state, but not actually losing the ability to output the rest of them.
How does it work with... Because after the first one's outputted, the Van Berlo wheel is on its opposite orientation. So how does that problem get fixed?
There are no stable atoms. That's how.
Okay.
Everything has to be memory.
Right, so just the whole thing just cycles through. Kind of using this memory tactic that was
Exactly.
prominently.
Remy has a pretty good remark in chat about 33, 35, 36. I guess there's also an exception for 34, which I never really realized was different from 33. I thought 33 and 35 were equivalent, or the two, like 33. I thought 34 was equivalent to 33. Yeah, Grimy's clearly aware of more of the depth of this graph theory problem than I am.
Grimmy's notes were unironically too big brain for me. Or at least I don't have the mathematical basis to just look at it and go, oh yeah, let me explain it by this. But no, I felt bad. I couldn't do Grimmy's solve more analysis or analytical justice.
Grimmy's a person who has made calculators in Crypt of the Necrodancer using in-game mechanics.
You
And
can do
does
that in
regex
Crypt of
golf.
the Necrodancer?
Yeah, and then does regex golf for fun, regex, whichever you want to pronounce. So the depth of understanding they bring to things is impressive.
Jesus, I did not know you could do that in fucking Crypt of the Necrodancer. You people are nuts over there. Alright. Couple more showcases, and they are both by Grimmy. So this one is titled OA brackets GC. I think this was called out earlier. So one more, yeah, so it's just a GC Frontier, so it sacrifices that one cycle to just be 180G cheaper. So I guess to that end I will show you the glyph ordering.
I guess the only difference they called out is that you don't have to dupe from Burlow on the last two cycles to get, on the last two atoms to get 34. You can restore them from memory and have those override Burlow dupes. It's just so flashy.
That's most of the OA solves, just very flashy.
I wonder how this sacrificed exactly one cycle though. That's somewhat interesting to me. Yeah,
Probably just longer setup, I assuming.
yeah, I think that's it. It's just because I think the OAC ones outputted on cycle 3 to begin with. This outputs on cycle 4 to begin with.
Yeah, just in terms of where the Burlow starts, cycle 4 in this layout is the first time that the final color reaches the grid.
Yeah.
Like Earth starts out pointed to the right and it requires 4 rotations to get it onto a dupe.
Yeah. It's something about starting it out one cycle slower just lets you get rid of a lot of the I assume it lets you get rid of a lot of that dupe calcification chain. My 34 output on 4 lets you start the new loop with salt on the input, which doesn't mess things up permanently. You just need one more rotate to line things up. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'll read. Actually, I'll read this out in case because it's been partially cut off. Grimmy writes, 36 can have 2 different colors of stable atoms, which doesn't help, as far as I know. 35 can have 1 color of stable atoms. 34 can't have stable atoms. 33 can have stable atoms. Sorry, can't. And must fill 2 colors fully straight from the Burlow on the last cycle. So there are the cycle differences. Interestingly. Alright, I will take you to Grimmy's actual OAC solve, which is cheaper than Spiritual Shampoos, for what it's worth.
We also started talking in the weekly chat on Discord after reveals about whether you could get OAC down to, I guess it was 18 cycles, by having 2 separate layers of glyphs, one that makes the output if the Burlow's in one orientation, and one that makes the output if it's in the other.
Jeez, that would have been really cool.
Output every third. It would be so much more expensive, but it would be wild to get it working.
That would have been really cool though, but yeah. I think it's the orientation, because, yeah, the product is, I believe, chiral, so...
You would basically need to do an in-place swap of fire for water and earth for air in half of a cycle, so that half of the outputs are made on the first half cycle and half the outputs are made 3 cycles later on the second half cycle.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. I will go through the, I'll go through the glyph ordering. I don't know what possessed us to choose cost as the secondary, but I am honestly glad we did, because it really
I mean, it's the interesting one.
Yeah, because it turned out to be very different having either cost or cycles for
Cost
secondary.
probably has the most variety between the different,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was a good choice in the end, cost.
yeah.
The only thing that would have been different and also interesting was optimizing for file size, which is close to counting glyphs, but it also penalizes instructions.
File size.
Short titles win.
There was also the thought that we can optimize by layers. Secondary is like
Oh, like vertical layering.
vertical layering with thickness.
Sad RPO noises.
Do you mean
Yeah, not the
thickness in
RPO
terms of, like,
layers.
the most glyphs on one tile is your score? Or the most... I guess, because if you're trying to go bottom to top and you need to respect the order, a duplicator could cause the height at a specific tile to be higher and force everything above it to be on that same tile higher than that. Defining
Yeah,
layers
so
is complicated.
kind of hard to calculate, so
Hard to, yeah. I'll give
we'll
Panic
stick to
credit.
cost. Cost was a good mention.
I'll give Panic credit for the cost secondary. It was a very good choice of secondary. It did matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alright. I believe that's a wrap for this week's weekly stream. I hope you enjoyed this puzzle. I hope you
Thank
enjoyed
you
the
all
stream.
for coming.
This is definitely, I don't know. Even though I do mention, to be perfectly honest, I had mixed feelings about this puzzle heading in, but even with that, it was just good to come back and do one of these weekly streams again. I don't know.
Weekly streams are great.
Weekly streams are great. So thank you all for joining me, and I think it'll wrap things up there, and I hope you will join me join all us weekly hosts for Tonic of Transmogrification next week.
That's Tonic. I hope you enjoy arising into cat form.
Thank you.
Which is apparently arising into cat form is apparently an anagram of transmogrification.
Oh, it's an anagram. I totally missed that in the tweet you linked. That's so good.
Yeah. So, yes. Become cat.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Very, very good.
Alright, ciao.
See ya.
Bye.
Peace, thanks.